Yo, yo.
Welcome, Alec.
How's everyone doing today? Elliot, hello.
So far, so good. Just waiting for Nico, Sub, and Joe.
Let's do it. Joe may not be joining. He seems to have declined the invite, but I think the others will be on today.
Good. And Sub, I just sent you a speaker request.
Thanks for joining, everyone, and feel free to retweet it if you want to invite any friends. And cool little bonus, if you're here live asking questions and we pick some of your questions, you'll get 500 spot. So fun little bonus. Retweet, invite some friends.
Hey, Sub.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep, you are live.
Hey, hi everyone, nice meeting you all.
Gosh, I like Twitter Spaces so much more than Discord.
Okay, now I've been able to connect my device. Good to go.
Good. I think we're just waiting for Nico here. Then we'll get started.
Hey, Nico's in.
Hey guys.
Okay, we have Joe.
Hey, Nico, and
on
we
the
got
call as well.
Yep, we got Joe. I'll bring him up on stage, and then we can get this thing kicked
Hey guys,
off.
sorry about being late.
1 minute, unacceptable, Joe. Just kidding. All right, I think we can kick it off. So thank you everyone for joining today. My name's Alec. I'm the partner of growth here at Sperax. And this is our weekly AMA. So we use this as an opportunity to connect with the community and listen to what the needs are so we can improve the product and ensure that we're building everything in light of what the community wants before we fully launch our DAO, which then would put the control of the protocol into the hands of the community. So the way that we do these is we just do a brief introduction of the protocol for anyone who might not be familiar. We ask a couple of questions to the team. I'll be asking a couple of questions just to kind of pull out the important information about the roadmap and the new farms. And then we'll pass it off to the community, and then we can do just an open AMA session. So without further ado, I'll start by introducing Sperax. Sperax, we're a software development company, and we build open source financial software. And the type of financial software we build are DeFi products. And we design these DeFi products to protect new users and give them a ERC20 based product that can protect them from market volatility and inflation. So our beachhead product under that umbrella is USDs. It's a highly liquid stablecoin backed by diversified stablecoin yield generating positions. And this yield is passed on to anyone holding USDS in their wallet in a gas-free manner. The target APR is 11%. And I just want to emphasize again, it's 100% collateralized. So anyone holding a USDS can go to the protocol and redeem USDC or USDT one-to-one. So it's a fully backed position. And the cool part is, unlike other yield-bearing stablecoin protocols, instead of the receipt token increasing in value, your receipt token is a stablecoin itself, which is liquid. So instead of having this $1 token be worth $1.10 at the end of the year, you'll actually be airdropped more units of the stablecoin. So it always stays pegged at $1, and it can function like a stablecoin, but in reality, it really is a receipt token representing your balance of the yield-bearing stablecoin pool. So that's the product. And the focus of today's conversation is going to be roadmap updates and the new farm. So before we get into the new roadmap and what's happening at the end of this year, let's look back a little bit and review some of the objectives that we stated in January, were some of our goals for the first half of the year. So I'll go through this quickly. So first off, our number one priority right when we launched was first, activate auto yield. So that's been pumping ever since the end of January, hitting that 11% APR target. Second, we needed to launch single-sided SPA farming. So that was the SPA optimizer pool. Users were able to deposit SPA, single-sided, start generating yield. We also launched various yield farms on Uniswap, on Arbitrum. So we were the first protocol to do a fixed APR model on Uniswap v3. And those were incredibly successful. We attracted nearly $15 million worth of liquidity in just minutes. Had a very juicy 150% APR. So that was super exciting and was a massive success. And we're actually we have the deepest liquidity on any Uniswap pair on Arbitrum today. So very successful initial Genesis farms. We also launched on a pegged asset, AMM. So we have a collaborative yield farm with Saddle. So you can go deposit today, begin earning nearly 20% APR on your USDS, paid in SPA as well as SDL. So that's super exciting, and there's over $10 million in that pool. We also launched data dashboards, so you can always validate that there's 100% collateral in the pool, and you never have to worry about a Tether or a UST type situation, or I guess even a Celsius type situation now, because you can always look at the data dashboard and validate that there's adequate liquidity backing each and every one of your stablecoins. We also secured fiat on-ramp partnerships. So we are the first Arbitrum project to have direct to Arbitrum fiat deposits. So now anyone outside of the US can connect a bank account or a credit card and get USDS or SPA deposited right to your Arbitrum wallet. So that's super exciting that you don't have to do the bridging process anymore. And soon it'll be available to American users, but for now it is only international. And we also launched the auto yield stabilizer. So what this does is reserves excess auto yield to continue to finance that 11% APR in the event that market rates are decreasing, which we are actually observing now in light of the market turmoil. But we do have that reserve budget, so you can always look on our analytics page to view the status of that as well. And then we're also in the talks of collateral diversification, which we'll get into today. So those were all of the accomplishments that we've had from our part one roadmap. And now a lot of stuff has been happening in the last 6 weeks, to say the least. So we observed the Luna crash, which was the first of many Black Swan events. Now we're observing, massive market-making firms like Three Arrows Capital and massive borrowing and lending firms like Celsius basically go out of business. And this is a Black Swan, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns caliber event. And it's really causing a lot of people to reassess their risk preference. And being a yield-bearing stablecoin protocol, we've done a lot to position ourselves to capture all of this unmet demand for risk-off DeFi positions. So we've done a lot in the last 6 weeks to err on the side of stability and health when it comes to how we're designing USDS and the Sperax USD protocol. So we're doubling down. We're not going anywhere. We're continuing to build. And let's just talk really briefly about the few updates we've had in the last 6 weeks, and then we'll look forward into what's coming for the rest of the year. So first off, I'm going to pass the mic over to Nico to introduce the concept of the 100% collateral ratio. Maybe fill people in on what that means and why it's important in light of recent market events.
Thank you, Alec. So when it comes to our key design, we designed USDS as a hybrid stablecoin. It means it has a flexible design that utilizes both external collateral as well as its ability to always mint the governance token, SPA in this case, to meet redemptions. In our original model, we launched at 95% collateral rate, and we had a pretty aggressive decollateralization rate, which means how fast we transition from collateral-based to algorithmic-based, of 1% every month. Given the way the market sentiment turned around, we thought that we could always be a bit more conservative and err a bit more on the side of caution. Therefore, we made 2 key protocol changes. First of all, we decided to increase the collateral backing at 100%. At the time, it was 90% when USD collapsed. So we used our own resources as Sperax Foundation and managed to get the collateral target, the collateral ratio of USDS at 100%. So that means that USDS is fully backed by other stablecoins at the moment. And then we also made another important change that significantly slowed down the rate we become algorithmic based over time. So that changed to 1% a year. I understand that this can be a bit more conservative and it might limit one of the challenges that SPA has for value accrual. But we thought that given the market environment, we expected that there's going to be a pretty tough market environment with negative sentiment. The best way to protect the protocol and SPA holders would be to require more on external collateral and less on the algorithmic stabilization of SPA, especially given the low liquidity that the market faced. Some people think this could be bad news for SPA, but I personally stand against that view. One of the key value accrual mechanisms we have at the moment is that from the yield generated by USDS collateral, we take 50% of that yield to buy back SPA tokens from the open market. So as long as the TVL within USDS, the TVL that backs USDS grows, it means there are going to be more and more weekly buybacks of SPA tokens every week. And we give those SPA tokens back to SPA stakers. So people who decide to lock their SPA tokens for a set period of time, they receive all the fees and 50% of the revenue generated by USDS and USDS collateral. So that's like one key change we made. I understand that some people might want a more aggressive profile, a profile that would rely a bit more on the algorithmic stabilization and less on external collateral. But if anything, the Terra lesson taught us that we should be humble and we shouldn't make these decisions in a centralized manner. Therefore, going forward, the parameterization of USDS, like what the collateral target is going to be, what the whitelist collateral is going to be, as well as how fast we will transition towards an algo-based stablecoin, all of those decisions are already coded on chain and will be determined via on-chain voting. So going forward, I see SPA stakers being able to decide where they want to stand on the risk-reward spectrum when it comes to the USDS. And I promise that as Sperax Foundation, we will provide extensive analysis on all of those decisions, but we won't be voting. So we will actually let the community decide how aggressive or what risk profile they would like USDS to adopt. Now, given that we changed the collateral, we have some really interesting changes coming. We will be adding much more diverse collateral. We plan to rely more on decentralized stablecoins and less on centralized stablecoins like USDC and Tether. So to do that, we will be adding DAI, Frax, and VST as collateral choices. And we will also be further diversifying our yield generating strategies. Yeah, that's just a short preview. I'm happy to discuss it a bit more later. Alec, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nico. Yeah, we'll have more questions around collateral diversification here shortly. Okay, so now we recently launched a new yield farm. So we need to deepen SPA liquidity to absorb any sort of selling pressure, as well as produce new buying pressure for SPA to deposit into the farm. So maybe Sue, could you introduce the farm that we launched this week and maybe the status of the TVL and the APR?
So yeah, the farm is quite unique in the sense that it's one of the first Uniswap V3 farms to act like a normal farm, which everyone has sort of been accustomed with. I'll get a bit technical here for those who understand. We're using a parameter called the L parameter in the Uniswap NFT token, the position NFT token, to act as the base for dividing the rewards among all users. And we expect that this farm implementation will become a standard for all future Uniswap V3 implementation, and will also form the basis of one of the future products that we are thinking, which will be implementing a factory farm contract, using which users can deploy their own farm implementations, provide liquidity against USDs, and incentivize liquidity against USDs, and stuff like that. So yeah, now coming back to our current implementation, which served as a strong proof of concept that we can build good stuff, to be honest. The current APRs are really high. It's in 3 digits for the no lockup option, and for the lockup options, it's high 4 digits. So please, do your own research in terms of understanding the risk involved, and participate in the farms if you like. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. The TVL is quite high overall in the farm, in the pool. We haven't seen a lot of high TVL, but it's still in hundreds of thousands, so it's healthy. But there is a lot more room to grow as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue. Okay, so the third point from what we've done in the last 6 weeks is we announced a couple infrastructure partnerships. So now we feel confident saying that SPA is the easiest altcoin to get on Arbitrum. So through new collaborations with centralized exchanges like KuCoin, MEXC, and Gate, you can actually withdraw and deposit SPA directly to your Arbitrum wallet, avoiding the bridging process from layer 1 to layer 2. So no other alternative altcoins have this feature. So we are really trailblazing that space, and we're super passionate about getting people into Arbitrum without having to go through the pain in the butt process of dealing with layer 1. It's slow, it's expensive, and it's technically unnecessary. We can use our partnerships to avoid that. In addition to the centralized exchanges, as I mentioned before, you could use Transact to directly connect your bank account or your credit card and avoid centralized exchanges altogether. You can get your capital deposited directly into your decentralized Arbitrum wallet of choice. So we're very excited about the infrastructure progress we've made in the last 6 weeks. And then finally, the 2 final updates are marketing website overhaul and the DApp UI upgrades. Maybe, Sue, you could just give a couple sentences about the new website and some of the improvements we've made on the DApp side.
Yeah, so as I have been looking through Twitter, one of the major challenges and one of the major issues with dApps have been the user experience. A key focus of our team has always been to improve the user experience when it comes to staking or farming or doing whatever on the dApp side. One of the major changes, I believe, Alec, you already spoke about, is reflecting whatever is on chain, on the analytics page, to help our community see everything that is there on chain. So you can look at the total value locked in USDs. You can look at the underlying collateral composition, the split between USDC and USDT. You can look at when exactly the last auto yield distribution happened, how much was distributed, what was the APY, stuff like that. Most of related with this is coming soon. Apart from that, we are working on simplifying the homepage experience. We are simplifying the mint page experience. We are simplifying the redemption page experience. We are thinking of providing more insight into whether it will be profitable to mint or purchase USDs and stuff like that. Is going to come very soon as well. And so we also had a major revamp of our marketing site. So if you go to sperax.io, you can see that we have revamped it from the earlier model that we had and from the earlier implementations we had. We had a lot of pivots and stuff like that. So the current website accurately reflects what we stand for, the major facets of how Sperax USD is, bringing about the right changes in the current economy. So I think these are the major, DApp changes and front-end changes that we have, and we have a lot more coming up. So we will be launching stake and auto claim, mint page updates, redemption page updates, and a lot of stuff in the coming few weeks. So as you know, the DeFi winter is coming up. We are sort of aggressively working towards making it much better user experience so that we can attract new users and work even harder to retain our existing users.
Thank you, Sub. So yeah, as Sub just mentioned, we're going to make it incredibly seamless for these DeFi native users that prefer to use decentralized wallets and interact with the DApp directly. Although for the less crypto savvy users, what we've done is we've pushed very hard to secure fintech partnerships. Our first and our very successful first one has been with StreetBeat. So StreetBeat is a regulated fintech application. You can go download it from the App Store, the Google Play Store, and it actually allows for users to connect their bank account or their credit card and directly zap into a USDS position. So in the first week of launching this partnership, we've actually attracted over 20,000 new USDS holders. Currently, all of those holders are using one wallet, which is owned by StreetBeat, but we're working with them to give each user a unique wallet. So that 20,000 individual user metric is represented on our data dashboard. And the average balance is roughly $40. So these users are definitely not whales, but we view this as a massive proof of concept that there are savers around the world that are seeking a US dollar denominated product that delivers high interest to fight inflation. So that is a very exciting improvement. We're excited about actually working with more and more fintech partners to basically be a DeFi service provider for neobanks, fintech partners, and more. Okay. So that's everything we've been doing this year in the last 6 weeks specifically. So what the heck is next? As Nico mentioned, we're prioritizing decentralization. And we're in the process now of reviewing all manual functions performed by the team, and we're creating plans to decentralize those actions. So stay tuned to get that rundown. We're also introducing off-chain governance structures through various avenues like forums and snapshots. This way, as we're building out the DAO, we can still listen to community feedback and community preferences, take off-chain votes, and then we'll build it. And then ultimately later this year, we'll be launching a full on-chain DAO. So we will completely burn all multi-sigs, and we will pass off the control of the contracts to the governance contract. So that'll be in a very exciting time, and we're hoping to knock that out in the second half of this year. Okay, so in addition to the decentralization, I'm going to pass it off to Joe to give a quick introduction to this upcoming feature, which will be to present slippage and some various metrics around the redemption process. So, Joe, could you fill us in real fast on what that looks like? Soon to come user experience for redeemers.
Yes, of course. And I guess, Soup, you can also comment if you want to add anything. So basically now for redemption, by default, you will withdraw your TVL from our vault. Currently, due to the market condition, we withdraw all the TVL from Curve, which is where we're generating yield, back to our vault. So there's nothing about slippage right now. You redeem, that's it. But very soon we will resume yield generation, which means many of our TVL will be put into some DeFi protocol we trust and have a really good strategy. So this means not every single penny will be in the vault. Many of them will be in some DeFi protocol. So it can happen that when you say do a huge withdraw, a huge redeem in our protocol, we have to fetch some liquidity from some DeFi product where we are generating yield. So then there comes in slippage. What we will do is we will let the choice, give the choice back to our users. So we will display how many slippage you will have to take for each options you take. So for example, if we generate yield on Curve, two pool, USDC and USDT, say you want to have a huge withdrawal of USDC, then sometimes you have to suffer a bit slippage because it's imbalanced in the curve pool, right? So we will honestly display how many slippage you have to suffer for the amount you want to withdraw, and we'll provide you with as many options as possible provided by the curve. You can withdraw in a balanced manner, which means you will withdraw USDT and USDC proportionally to the ratio in the curve pool. We will also provide the option you can just withdraw one single token. You only want USDC, that's fine, but we will also display the slippage you have to take, and also USDT. I'll say this feature is great. I personally like this feature. It gives back the power back to our user, our community, makes our protocol truly decentralized, or further decentralized, I'll say. But most of the time, I think a user won't really encounter with this feature because we will make sure our vault will sustain for normal withdrawal for users. So you don't really have to withdraw from a DeFi protocol we're generating yield. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Okay, so the next point on the roadmap blog is the diversification of USDS collateral. As Nico mentioned, in the coming weeks, we'll be diversifying primarily USDT. So we want to get rid of our USDT exposure, and we're onboarding DAI, VST, and Frax. So this is beneficial due to the fact that one, it removes our exposure to UST and the potential depegging risk. But what it also does is unlocks new yield generation possibilities for our collateral pool. And this corresponds to more yield in the reserve budget to fund auto yield. And with a higher yield on collateral, it produces more available capital to do SPA buybacks on the open market. So what that means is, as the TVL grows, you can expect more and more buying pressure on the open market for SPA, and all of that SPA gets distributed to SPA stakers. So that is the key benefit. If you're holding SPA, you should go stake it, because then you can begin collecting SPA from those buybacks, which happen on a weekly basis. So we're very, very excited to accept Frax, VST, and DAI, and we'll begin deploying it to Curve, and then we'll be staking those LP tokens on the Frax gauge to earn CRV, Vesta, as well as FXS, all going to SPA buybacks. So Sub also mentioned something called the USDS factory pool contract. Sub briefly introduced it, this idea that a protocol has the option of seeding their governance token liquidity against a stablecoin in order to allow for users to trade in and out of the position. But a protocol designer now has an exciting opportunity in front of them. They could actually use our factory pool contract to seed the liquidity of their governance token against USDS. So you might ask, well, why the heck would one want to do that? The glory of seeding liquidity against USDS with our factory pool contract is twofold. So first off, it's a template that allows these engineers to basically just deposit whatever type of governance token they would like to seed against USDS, plus a budget for any sort of liquidity mining rewards, and it'll be paired against some additional SPA from the SPA gauge. So now these engineers don't have to be Uniswap experts. They don't have to be yield farming experts. They can simply use our template, and then boom, they have an incentivized farm with their governance token plus SPA. So it's both a engineering benefit as well as an economic benefit to attract more liquidity to the desired pools. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Sub and to Nico to introduce the concept of the SPA gauge. So maybe we could learn what is the SPA gauge and what it might mean for SPA holders, potentially along the lines of bribing, additional cash flows. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, Nico, do you want to go first?
You can start, and I'll go later.
Yeah, so one of the key aspects of the SPA gauge would be, controlling the incentives that would. So we talked about the factory contract. I'll just basically add a couple of more points. So apart from the fact that they could incentivize liquidity against your token on Arbitrum or any of these Uniswap implementations. Apart from the fact that they can have dual incentives. So they would be able to make the capital much more efficient since they can set a price range for the governance tokens. And SPA gauge is intrinsically linked with this. So it is very similar in implementation to Frax and Curve. So in case of Curve, I guess it drives incentives for their governance token for their pools. And for Frax, it is sort of similar, but it drives incentives towards different kinds of pools across different chains. So our implementation will be very closely similar to what Frax has. So SPA token holders can stake their SPA tokens and they will be able to control the SPA incentives that go towards different pools, different yield farms, and they will also control who gets the right to add the pools to the SPA gauge. So for example, let's say let's consider protocol X. Like protocol X wants to create incentivize liquidity against USDs on Uniswap V3. So they launch the factory contract and then they submit their proposal to accept liquidity to accept incentives for SPA incentives from the Sperax USD protocol. And then the VSPA holders basically vote on whether they should first of all incentivize that gauge, incentivize that pool or not. Second, they vote on what the incentives would be, right? So these are two aspects that the VSPA holders will be able to control, and this is how the VSPA gauge and the factory contract that we talked about are intrinsically linked. Yeah, so that's pretty much it from my end. Yeah, Nico.
I think I think Sub covered like all the important information. Just to give like a quick summary, I expect the introduction of the gauge together with our automated smart contracts will be a great way to bootstrap USDS demand. for the simple reason that it solves some of the key problems that protocols have. It automates all the farming structure, so something that would require many engineers to spend a lot of time, like reading Uniswap smart contracts and Solidity to implement, to just do it like in a really, really efficient manner. So we can save a lot of resources from other protocols who want to have an incentivized liquidity mining operation within Uniswap P3. And together with that, by allowing those protocols to capture some additional SPA emissions, as well as potentially some USDS yield in the future, we expect that to be a great value proposition for protocols who want to seed liquidity and to significantly drive USDS demand, while also giving a lot of power to SPA stakers, since SPA stakers will be able to control all of the key parameters when it comes to the distribution of emissions.
Yeah, and historically, we have seen that any token which has a gauge creates additional utility. So right now we have one utility which Nico talked about, that we are constantly buying back SPA with 50% of the yield that is generated. But with the introduction of the SPA gauge, it will create additional liquidity in the sense that protocols can fight over control of SPA emissions to drive emissions against their tokens, against their protocol. So we see incremental value addition to the SPA token as such when we launch this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that detailed response. And the final point on the roadmap is the cross-chain strategy, which we're still in deep research, and we're working with really reputable cross-chain partners, and we're working on designing a non-custody version of a cross-chain USDS. So we're working with Layer 0 as well as DBank and some other bridge partners to figure out how one can mint and redeem USDS on various different chains. And the benefit there is we can begin accepting collateral from other ecosystems, deploying it in those respective ecosystems to capture even more yield generating opportunities. So we're very excited to publish our research on that and get a timeline going for there, but we can expect that by the end of the year. Okay, so that is all of the updates from our side. So thanks for bearing with us. And if you want to read our blog post, go check out our Medium page. I also just tweeted it out. So go give that a read. It'll include all the information we just talked about. From now on, let's take community questions. So Elliot, could you begin bringing some people on stage?
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate everyone that has been patient and requested to come up on stage. So I will start to pull you guys up. Elra Dave, you were first up, so I'll pull you on stage and you can ask your question. You are live, Elra Dave. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, my question would be about the DAO you mentioned. I would like to know would majority of the votes be to those who hold more of the SPA token, or would everyone have equal voting rights? And the other question would be about you mentioned this earlier, but I'm trying to find the connection between the USDS and the SPA token. I don't know. Can you go over it again for me? And yeah, okay, that's all. I had one other one, but I would like your response on this first. Did you get it?
Yes, we heard you just fine. Alec, are you there, sir? I believe the first question was in regards to DAO voting.
I'll pass this off to Sue or Nico.
I can start. Yeah. So when it comes to the DAO vote, it's going to be your vote is going to be determined according to your VSPA balance. Your VSPA are the staked SPA that have been transformed depending on your lockup period. So the longer you lock up your SPA token for, the more VSPA you get per SPA token you stake. So if you stake one SPA token and you lock it for 4 years, you get 4 VSPA. On the other hand, if you only lock it for 1 year, you get 1 VSPA. So effectively, people who have a lot of SPA and lock them for an extended period of time will be the ones who will have the most voting power when it comes to key DAO decisions. That's a way effectively to ensure that people who have sufficient skin in the game, people who care about the long-term future of the project, will be the ones that will have the most influence when it comes to deciding all the key decisions of the project. And the second question you asked about SPA and USDS, there are many ways those two tokens are linked. In a nutshell, you can think of SPA as the token that captures value from the growth in USDS, from an increase in USDS demand. The main way this is happening right now is because SPA stakers receive all the fees and half of the revenue generated by USDS. So effectively, the higher the TVL in the system, the more collateral USDS has, the more revenue is being generated, the more fees are being captured, and all of those are being used to buy back SPA token from the open market and give them as rewards to stakers. On top of that, as the protocol matures, there is going to be an algorithmic component that will be used to mint more USDS, which means that whenever someone mints USDS token, SPA tokens will be getting burned. Now we have calibrated that to be pretty conservative, becoming algo-based at a rate of 1% a year. But of course, this might change if SPA stakers think that that's the direction the protocol should take. A more risky direction, but could lead to even more value accrual for SPA.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful. So next up, I will bring Young Savior up on stage. All right, Young Savior, we have you on stage. Go ahead and ask your question after you unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, good afternoon. How are you? Bye-bye. Can you hear me?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah. I heard concerning you are paying your USDS. And my question is that
Sorry,
we see what happened.
it's a bit too noisy. I can't really hear what you're saying.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, it is a better.
Yeah. My question is that we've seen what happened concerning UST. Hope the issue concerning UST will not also happen to your stable coin, because I can see that your USDS is your stable coin.
I didn't understand the question. I don't know if someone else understood the question.
Yeah, my question is
I sort of get the gist of the question. So Nico, I think the question is actually more from economic standpoint. So he wants to basically understand what happened to USD is something, that we make sure that it doesn't happen to USDS, or I think that's the question. So like how probable is it, like what happened to USD can happen to us or not?
So the reason the USD was 100% algorithmic stablecoin. That means that it suffered something called reflexivity. That's an issue that you can have when all of your collateral is endogenous. This happens for the simple reason that in algorithmic stablecoins, the collateral has value only to the extent the stablecoin can remain stable. And the stablecoin has value only to the extent its governance token, its collateral, has some value. Like otherwise, it can be stabilized using the governance token. So if there is a big crisis of beliefs or a big negative shock, this can make people trusting the token less, which can lead to more selling pressure for the governance, more minting and selling pressure for the governance token, which makes the stablecoin further depeg, which causes even more minting and selling pressure for the governance token, creating a death spiral. a vicious circle. When we built USDS, we were aware of those problems well in advance. That happened with basis cash in the past. The way to go around it was to introduce some external collateral, to have collateral that has value independent of SPA liquidity or SPA price. Under such a system, as the one we have now, we effectively can be sure that even under the worst case scenario, there is going to be a floor for the price of USDS, which will prevent the death spiral, as just described. On top of that, after USD collapse, we also made a major change by increasing our collateral backing at 100%. So right now, a USD type of event just cannot happen because the protocol is backed at a 100% rate by external collateral on top of its ability to stabilize the stablecoin using SPA.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nico. Next, I will pull up Talha on stage. Yes, please go right ahead.
My question is related to security. Security is the top concern of every project, but currently a lot of tokens and blockchain have been hacked. So what security mechanism does your project have? And do you have any insurance for users? Yeah, that is my question.
I can take this one. So you are worried about hacks, right? Yeah, we are also take our I guess engineering team pay the most attention to any potential vulnerability in our smart contract. So I can share with you the process we examine the smart contract or the process we before we launch. So we will first have test cases, test scripts. And so it will cover 100%, at least 95% code coverage, which means our test will cover 95% of the code at least. And then we will do integration testing, which means you wire your smart contract to a fork network, which is a 100% copy of the mainnet. And we will wire it to front end to this fork network to test every single possible action a user can do. So no user action will expose our smart contract to any vulnerability. Thirdly, we not only rely on our internal team to test and examine any vulnerability, we also rely on external parties. We partner with famous tier 1 auditing company like QuantStem, like CertiK, like Slow Mist. Their audit report is all published in our GitHub. It's public. You can go to our GitHub to find all the reports, or you can go to our commercial website. I think when you scroll down to the bottom, there's a section called Audit Reports. You can click and see any report you want. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, that is. Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, no worry.
All right, very good. Thank you, Talha. Next, I will bring Chucky up on stage. All right, Chucky, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good evening, guys. So I want to know, like, you're always taking the coin API is over 268%. So I mean, don't you guys think that's a bit too high? Like, so like, wouldn't liquidity be a problem with such a very high APY? And like, how would you manage to prevent whale to prevent small investors?
Was the question about the current level of the APY?
Yes.
Yeah, so one thing I want to clarify is that the current level of the APY is not pegged or fixed. It depends on market conditions. So to the extent we can generate that APY on Curve and other external DeFi applications, we will be passing that through the users. An interesting feature of the way USDS work is that at the moment, only USDs that stay in someone's wallet can receive the yield. So if you lock your USDs in a smart contract, you don't get the yield at the moment. So that allows us to actually use all of the collateral to generate yield for a smaller supply of the USDS circulating supply, because we only give the yield to the USDS that stay in someone's wallet. That's how we managed to achieve such a high APY, while also actually having a surplus most of the weeks when it comes to the yield generated. Of course, if the number of USDS that receives the yield was to increase, or the external DeFi yield was to significantly decrease, this would affect the yield we give. 11% is what we currently can produce organically at the market. A key point to highlight is that all of that yield is effectively USDS we buy back using the external DeFi yield from the market. So we buy back those USDS and then we distributed them to the end users proportional to how many USDS they have on their wallet. So it's a purely organic process. It doesn't inflate the USDS circulating supply and can change, can become lower if market conditions also change. I just want to be perfectly clear about that. We're not fixing the yield. We just do our best to give as high yield as possible that can be generated organically in the DeFi market.
Okay, can you tell me more about your auto staking protocol?
It's pretty simple. You lock your SPA tokens in a smart contract and you choose the lockup period. So you can lock them from 1 to 2 weeks to up to 4 years. The longer you lock them for, the more rewards you get every week and the more voting power you're going to have. The rewards are composed by some SPA emissions together with SPAs that are being bought up in the open market every week using USDS fees and 50% of USDS revenue.
Oh, did you just say I can lock my SPA token for up to 4 years?
Correct. The longer you lock them, the more rewards you get every week.
Wow. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you, Chucky. Next, we will be bringing Jenny up on stage. You've been very patient. We appreciate it. All right, Jenny, go ahead and ask your question.
I know you guys talked about the USDS being very stable, but then because of the fear of the UST, it still feels somehow. So I would like to know about your risk management policies in case if anything goes wrong in the market.
At the moment, USDS is backed at a rate of 100% by other stablecoin collateral and majority USDC, as well as by the ability of the protocol to mint SPA to always serve redemptions. Since it's 100% backed, we don't expect any spam minting that will have to happen. But even in the worst case scenario, where let's say USDC or Tether were to totally collapse, even then you would be able to swap your existing USDS for what's left from the collateral together with SPA tokens that you would be able then to sell to cover the $1 value of USDS. On top of that, USDS is at the moment the most liquid stablecoin in Uniswap v3 in Arbitrum. So having that in mind, it means you can perform massive amount of USDS selling at $1 without significantly moving the price. That's what we have right now when it comes to smart contract risk. As was mentioned before, we already have been audited by top firms in the space, and we will be we'll be publishing a new audit in the near weeks from another really reputable firm. Yeah, that's about it. I hope that covers most of your concerns.
Awesome. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Jenny. A couple more questions here. We're running up against time, so we'll try and get these quickly. So we'll bring Airtel up on stage. Airtel, we have you up here. If you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, go right ahead. Are you there, Airtel? So I'll go ahead and bring up Obi Tech. We'll see if we can get them connected to ask a question. We'll come back to Airtel. Obi Tech, you are connected if you want to unmute yourself and ask. Oh, we got Airtel. Airtel, go ahead.
And I
Yes, please go ahead. All right, seems like we might be having some connection issues there with Airtel. Obi Tech, if you're here, if you want to ask your question, go right ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, I went through your site and I was seeing your site. I asked, do you have an app for it or is just a site?
I'm sorry, was the question, do we have an app or do we just have the website? Is that the question?
Yeah, yes, that's one of my questions.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think I can answer that question. Right now, we only have a website, but the website is mobile friendly. So you will be able to access most of the features of the website using a mobile version of the web app on Google Chrome or Safari. We prefer Google Chrome on both Android and iOS devices. So it is mobile friendly. I mean, you can access most of the features of the DApp on your mobile browser, but we do not have an app at this point of time, and it's not in the roadmap as well. So yeah, I mean, but the user experience of mobile web app is good. So you can access the product on mobile.
Alright, okay. My second question, I saw the point you said just from one site you can get. Where can we actually get the SPA token?
I didn't get your question. Can you come again, please?
Like your token, when can I get it? I was doing the research and I just saw just only one source.
Are you asking where can you buy SPA token?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, Sup, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so in our website itself, you will see a link for buy SPA/USDS. When you click on it, it will give you multiple options to buy SPA tokens. Now, it's a very uh, complicated question, to be honest, but yeah, so there are many ways in which you can buy SPA tokens. There are centralized exchanges, then there are decentralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges are KuCoin, FTX, and I believe Huobi. So these are three major centralized exchanges where SPA tokens are listed and you can buy. And in terms of decentralized exchanges, we have good liquidity for SPA tokens on Arbitrum, Uniswap V3. Now, for that, you would need some kind of crypto assets already on Arbitrum to purchase SPA tokens from Uniswap V3 Arbitrum. Apart from that, we have an integration with Transact in process. It's not implemented yet, but very soon you will be able to on ramp into SPA tokens directly. We will be launching that very soon and announcing it on Twitter. So stay tuned for that. But as of now, you have like options. First, you can purchase on centralized exchanges, and the other one is decentralized exchange. And we are the only altcoin which has direct Arbitrum on ramping support across three centralized exchanges. No other altcoin has that. I believe Alec is more experienced to talk about. Alec, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think you hit it right on the head. you hit the nail right on the head there. The advantage is that you don't have to subject yourself to the expensive layer 1 gas fees. So if you do the direct withdrawal from MEXC, from KuCoin, or from Gate, you can directly go into Arbitrum where the gas fees are cheap and you don't have to pay the expensive layer 1 fees.
Awesome. Thank you, Alec. I think that we are bumping up against time here today. So I'd like to thank Alec, Joe, Sub, and Nico from the Sperax team for spending the time today. And thanks to the community for being here. Those were some awesome questions. If we did not get to your question, or if you need additional resources, come find us on Discord or Telegram. We'd be happy to interact with you there. Also keep in mind that we will be giving out 500 SPA tokens to 3 people who asked live questions today. So if you get a DM from us, please keep your DMs open. I know it's certainly can look like a scam when someone reaches out to you, but we'll be asking for your Arbitrum wallet address. And so we'll help you through that. Alec, would you like to walk us out?
Yeah, I think you did a great job, and thank you everyone from the Sperax team for joining today, and even more, thank you so much for the community for joining today and helping us build better products. And if you prefer the Twitter AMA, please let us know. We're testing out Twitter. We seem to like it, so let us know what you think of the Twitter Spaces instead of Discord AMAs. That's it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.